The Brain Trust is here. Christine Niedermeier is a former U.S. Senate Chief of Staff. She now runs Straight Scoop Politics. It's a blog. Bob Franken, syndicated columnist for King Features. Amy Holmes is the anchor of the Hot List at The Blaze. Direct your tweets directly to her. Christine, I do want to start with you, though. The Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz has become the face of the GOP during this crisis. In an interview with NBC yesterday, he again laid blame for the shutdown at the feet of Democrats. Take a listen.
The Democrats want government by crisis. They want shutdowns. This is Harry Reid's shutdown because he thinks it benefits Democrats politically. And they want to threaten a default to scare people.
How did Senator Cruz become the point man on all of this?
I just have to say at first, he's really out of touch with reality as we begin here. He became some would say he's probably in touch with the reality of his constituents. Of his constituents, but increasingly alienating the moderate Republicans in the Senate and in the House. He has gotten a lot of publicity over this, but in the meantime, his point about the government wanting to be shut down by the Democrats is totally false. It wouldn't have happened unless Speaker Boehner, instead of acting like a minority leader, acted like a speaker and brought this bill to the floor of the House without an amendment, a clean CR, so that we get the budget passed.
Senator Cruz running the show in the House GOP right now these days?
Well, he's certainly getting a lot of attention, but look, it is one of the worst kept political secrets. The Democrats did want to shut down because they think it harms Republicans. And I would actually agree with them. I think it is harming Republicans. It's not a strategy that I thought was a good one moving forward. I think that Republicans have lost the big picture, which is if you want to reform Obamacare, you need to have control of the Senate and you need to have control of the White House, because a democratically controlled Senate and President Obama is not going to change Obamacare.
Did Democrats want this, Bob Franken?
They probably are benefiting from it.
Right. But that's a different question, though.
Right.
Do you think they wanted it?
Well, I think that anything that benefits somebody, he's probably at some level going to want. The fact of the matter is, I'm not a mind reader. I'm not being evasive. Yeah. But certainly they're benefiting from it. John Boehner and others realized that was going to happen. But Ted Cruz is the flavor of the month. He's the new Sarah Palin or Newt Gingrich, whatever you want to go. And he is appealing to a base, the only base that would allow him to stand out.
But let's remember, there was a White House official who was anonymously quoted this week in the Wall Street Journal who said, we don't care how long this shutdown goes on, how long it goes on.
I'm always leery, by the way. I'm always leery of anonymous quotes.
But you believe the Wall Street Journal?
No. The Wall Street Journal is fine, but there's nothing unusual about people looking at it as a game. As a matter of fact, there's this wonderful tape that I'm sure you've seen by the two senators of Kentucky. Politics is all again.
But Rand Paul was quoted when they had the mic on and that they want to win this thing. For people, I worked on the Hill in the 80s and the 90s, and I think what has to be pointed out to the public is the climate has changed. The segment you just did, Craig, was right on in terms of how the districts have changed. But what's really changed and what has caused, in my view, this conflict on the Hill are four things. Number one, there's no relationships on the Hill anymore between the White House and the Hill and the House and the Senate. Back in those days, they didn't have big travel budgets. They didn't go back to their districts as often. They built relationships. Number two, campaign money wasn't what it is. So not only are parties weaker, but the campaign money is there. And it used to be, I sound like I'm really old here, but I'm trying to still be young. But it used to be in the old days that you got at least 2 years out of a 4-year presidential term to get stuff done on the Hill before it got very political. And the first year out of a 2-year term in a House term. Yeah. These days you get nothing. And then on top of it, you've got, in all due respect to us, which I think we do a good job in the media, which have a 24-hour media.
Yeah,
As a state legislator, I was involved in getting bills through and getting budgets through. You have no cover now because the minute you vote, it's on all over the country.
And Twitter as well. And so
Chris Matthews' first book was called Hardball. His show. What he's saying is that it is a game. Of course, unfortunately, the game these days is beanball. I think that everybody is throwing at each other's heads. The rules are gone.
The presence of Senator Cruz has come at the expense of another notable, high-profile Republican that we have not heard a great deal about. His name, of course, is Marco Rubio. Amy Kramer of the Tea Party Express. This is what she told the National Journal. Quote, Ted Cruz is new and he's a rock star. I just think health care is a much bigger issue for most Americans right now than immigration. What happened to Marco Rubio. Where is he? Hasn't been on a national television outlet in 8 days.
What happened to Marco Rubio was immigration reform, and a lot of the Tea Party base, conservative base, did not like what he was doing on immigration reform, and so he was
banished.
He was losing that momentum because of that issue, and I think he's standing back and watching, what happens with Ted Cruz. Because Ted Cruz is getting a lot of attacks from Republicans for his strategy.
But that's the reason why this strategy in the House doesn't work, because you have moderate Republicans who are going for cover. You had the Republican candidate for governor in Virginia flip-flop and now decide he's against a shutdown. It is hurting Republicans, and it was amazing to me that picture of the House conferees, the Republican conferees, sitting there at the table that they released a few days ago.
With the empty chairs?
Not only the empty, talk about no diversity.
Wow.
No women, they're only advertised. But the reason that's important is because they lost.
Are you saying women would have ended the shutdown? Is that what this is?
The last election.
There are a lot of conservative women who would like to see the shutdown
during the last election, the Republicans, when it was all over, said we made a mistake. We made a mistake by not broadening the base.
Last word.
And they've not done it.
Last word before the break.
The ultimate GOP pejorative is rhino, Republican in name only, and I think that he's been labeled that by any number of the people.
Rubio,
who are
you're talking about.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to spend some time talking about House Speaker John Boehner, and we also got our hands on this new ad that I guess is going to run during a football game, a nationally televised football game tomorrow. The Brain Trust. Quick break after this. Come back.
Don't you forget about me.